All right, we're back. Seat. Here we go. Oh, hopefully you guys can see my head while I'm taking care of this. So for the back seat, one of the big problems is going to be that it is 40 inches wide, and from here to here on the inner fender wells, it's only 36 inches wide. So I need to go ahead and extend this opening two inches on each side. I'm actually going to do 2 1/4, so that'll give me about 1/4 of an inch on each side, a little bit more play room there. And so what I've done to try to get this straight as possible and kind of cut out this first piece before I move it over is I have this laser line here.
When will you be bringing out the lasers for me to play with? And would we start with the small lasers, or could we go just straight to the big lasers in terms of playing with them?
And you can see I've kind of already done this, and I cast it 2 1/4 inches and just trace that line all the way from here to here. And I'll go ahead, I'm going to cut that line here all the way back, and then I'm just going to cut along this seam here on the floor, and then hopefully be able to move that over and save some of this, and then just plate some additional over, and you'll see that process as I go. So that's what I'm going to do to get this back seat mounted, get it in place. There is a little bit of rust back here, so I'm just going to tackle all this at one time, and it should work out pretty nicely. So there you go. All right, so here's a close-up. It looks like all cut out. Part of the other reason I did this, I have some holes already here that needed to be patched, and I thought I'm going to go ahead and try to do most of the sheet metal work, because once this is done, I'm going to be pulling the tub out. And so, but here you go. A little B-roll for you, Caleb. I don't know if it matters or not, or if it's even cool, but there's a giant hole. There's a tire just hanging out. Okay, so now that I've got this piece cut out, I've got the distance that I can go ahead and get that seat in here. I've got to cut the other side out too, but I'm trying to plan through how I want to move this over. And in looking at it, I think the best way to try to match these seams up is basically going to take this 2 inches out here and then push it over and then adjust this as needed, and then I'll cut across. But the next step to get this to line up correctly is basically I need to take this 2-inch chunk out all the way up, and I'll take it out all the way over. So then I can fold this back and over to the proper height and cut it, and then I'll stitch it and weld it all up into place. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm sure this is a great angle for you guys, especially Caleb. You're welcome, buddy. Whew. Okay, so now that's cut up, and let's look and see if this will slide over, which it does. That's exactly what I was hoping it would do. Well, almost exactly. Well, that did not pan out the way I had hoped, and it still lines up pretty closely actually, so maybe it will. Just bend this back a little bit along this seam here. There we go. Just flatten that out. So now that will sit just like this. So, and this will line up. Yeah, I think that'll be able to get that to work pretty nicely. But that'll work. I've got a few other things before I move on. Like I've got to cut the other side out. And then before I finalize this, I do want to make sure the seat will fit in here the way I want it to. And so what I'm hoping though, is hopefully you can kind of see, is I can get this flattened out all the way, get it moved to where it needs to be, to where it lines up and it plays friendly, and get that welded up. And then I'll just take some flat plate and run it the full length here to close up this new 2-inch gap here. So that's where I'm at in the process, but like I said, I have a few other steps to take care of first before we get there. Yeah, I think that's gonna work nice. Okay, I've gotten both sides cut out now, so let's see if I measured correctly. Oh, like a glove. Nice little booty shot there for you. So let's see how this sucker looks. Oop. Well, maybe not. There we go. Okay, so that's about where I want that to sit. It needs to slide the other way. Oop. Trying to be careful not to rip the seats. Well, I think it's gonna fit just fine. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. I don't know if y'all can see me hanging up just a hair. Maybe that's about right. Who knows? I think this is gonna be just, there's really not a lot of room in the back of these in general for, you know, full-size people. But I think this is gonna work pretty nicely. And if for nothing else, you know, little kids, things like that should be able to fit in here pretty well. And it looks like I've got, you know, that 1/4-inch gap on each side that I was really hoping for, which is good. So I think this is ready to go. Now I just need to close in both of the wheel wells. That'll be nice and ready to go. And then that should be it. But fitment looks good. I've got everything cut out. So now it's just making it look right again. Here we go. So after cutting it out, one of the things I did notice here is you can see that door doesn't align anymore and it sticks out. And so what I've actually done, let's see if we can get that to focus. I'm going to run a ratchet strap right across here, and as I tighten that down, that will close that misalignment there. So there we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that time long ago of me installing this back seat. And now back to current day, the seat is installed, and I'm just going to recap some of the additional pieces. So you saw there that I used that ratchet strap to realign, and you can see here the door actually lines up again. So before that, when you cut that floor out, those panels are able to fold back and kind of, it messes up the door gap. And so make sure you either attach something to hold everything in place before cutting out the tub, or you can do something like I did, is a fixed post. But once that's done, I went ahead and welded up everything. It's in place. I need to do some cleanup work with the grinder. I'm going to do some seam sealer, get everything nice and smooth, make it look pretty, bed line the interior. All those wonderful steps are what's left. But for now, I just wanted to get everything in, free up some space here in the garage on the floor, and get ready for the next step. So hopefully after all this is done, now that the seats are installed, I'm gonna get some people over, we'll get the tub off of here and start the frame off process of restoring the rest of this Jeep, running exhaust, doing all the rest of the suspension, really finalizing all of those components so then I can get the tub back on, get the wiring done, and get it up and running. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm gonna have to do between now and then, but in my mind, it's gonna be great. And as a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I just wanted to show you as well, you know, the older seats just folded forward as well that originally came in the Jeepster. So these are actually gonna fold over as well. They won't fold and tumble like a CJ seat, but you can see here that they still fold forward and pretty nicely out of the way, get a nice flat solid surface to mount to. Another thing I didn't mention that I'm really excited about with these seats is that they actually have the car seat tethers here, so they're gonna be a lot more family friendly compared to the old school seats that came in these. You know, adding car seats, all those wonderful things, should be a really family friendly alternative to a back seat in these Jeeps. And then they have these little covers so everything stays nice and covered up. Overall, I'm really happy with the way these seats turned out. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, I hope you enjoyed the seat. As always, thank you for coming to my YouTube. I have enjoyed putting these together for you. I hope that they are informative, fun, all those wonderful things. And until next time,